So yeah, like I was saying, when you become a man, all those things, like, you know, you got to leave that. You got to understand that you can have a conversation with someone and not agree with them, and they cannot agree with you, and it doesn't have to lead to confrontation, or you know, you can peacefully say, okay, mate, fair enough. You know, that's your opinion, that's my opinion. Let's talk about something else. Let's move on. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, you know, the thing is, right, is that what happens, right? And I tell you exactly what it is. People's ego and their pride gets in the way, and a lot of people want to be right, quote unquote, want to be right, if you see what I'm trying to say, and that's the problem. People need to put their ego aside and understand that it's not always about being right or wrong. Like, even sometimes, right, people argue with me. I might be having a conversation with someone, right, and immediately I realise straight away they might be looking for an argument. Sometimes, even if I know that they're wrong, yeah, just to avoid having an argument with someone and wasting my time and letting someone get me upset and bothered or irritated, and me saying something back to get them irritated and bothered and upset, and, you know, whatever, I'll literally just say, okay, you're right, mate. Even if in my head I think you're completely 100% wrong, just to avoid sometimes an argument or wasting my time, I'd just be like, oh, don't worry, mate, you're right. You know what I mean? You know, you're right, you know. Like, you know, just
let them think they're right.
That's what I mean, exactly. Just to let them think they're right, and to move on. Just to, like, be like, I haven't got time for that. You know, I'm getting, you know,
be honest, you know, like now I've really, like, now I'm getting older, I've learned how to forgive everyone.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, do you know what I mean? And just live life, you know, do you know what I mean?
That's it.
We ain't got long in this world, do you know what I mean?
No, not at all.
And it's not really worth worrying about too many things.
Speaking of sleeping and dreaming, most of us either spend 1/3 or 1/4 of our lives asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking on you saying we haven't got much time, and us speaking about sleep and everything else tonight, you know, most of the time, you know, 1/3 and 1/4 of it you are asleep. So you've got to.
I think a lot of people don't realise how short life is. Right, life is short. Seriously, yeah. As I found out the other day, a robin only lives, you know, lifespan of a robin is only 13 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But the oldest bird in the world is a parrot.
Okay. Yeah.
Lives to 100.
100, yeah.
A mackerel.
Yeah.
But our lifespans are less than that. So parrots actually live, you know, longer than us, apparently. Okay. You know, but our lifespans, you know, in 70 years or 80 years or whatever, is not really a long time, honestly. You know, you think even when you're 10, do you know what I mean, the past 10 years, you know, that's 1/10 gone.
Yeah, gone already. And like you said, up until the age of 5, you don't even really know what's going on and who you are.
No, not really.
Well,
you don't really
before that, because I was going to say my daughter's 4, and I was going to say probably from the age of 3, she's been on it, if you see what I mean. She's been talking, she's been, you know, everything, if you see what I mean.
You're chatting to her, see.
Yeah, true. She's got a younger brother as well, and me and my wife and everything else, you know. Of course, we try our best, you know, in every aspect, you know. But yeah, like up until most children, like 4 or 5, is when you kind of, you know, like you said, kind of before, kind of know what's kind of going on. And then those next 5 years, you're kind of coming into your own little person, if you see what I mean, up until the age of 10. And then, but when you get to about 12, 13, you start, obviously, as we all know, we start getting hormones. Hormones start kicking in, you know what I mean, your teenage years, and you start, you know...
Your sex drive starts kicking in.
You start maturing.
Then you're a bit like a rabbit, do you know what I mean? You need a lead at that age, do you know what I mean? You know, it needs to slow down.
Well, not everyone. I think it just depends on what you're exposed to. Because if you're not exposed to anything like that, if you're not exposed to a lot of sexual material and stuff like that when you're younger, let's say you're not exposed to much of that kind of stuff before the age of 16, you know, you're not really going to be thinking about it too much. You might talk about it at school with your mates, or you might hear about it, because that's how, you know, secondary school, you know, all that shit goes on, as we already know. You know, we've all been to secondary school, and we know what happens at secondary school. You know, what people talk about at, you know, when you're at that age and all that kind of stuff. We know, you know, we've been there, done that. So they might hear it or whatever, you know, some of their mates talking about it, or whatever the case may be. But if they're not really exposed to it too much and don't really know, kind of innocent, if you see what I mean, up until the age of 16 or whatever, then it's not, you know, it's not until kind of that, after that point, you know, when they get exposed to it, they might be like curious, you know? Because a lot of times it's not until you're exposed to something that you actually become curious about it, want to know what it is, or you know,
you want to try it out,
try it out, or
I want to see what it's like.
Have more of an understanding, trying to, So, yeah, and that's when parenting comes in. That's when it comes into having those conversations of, being smart and sensible and etc.
I mean, like say a 17-year-old, no, say a 15-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy, and they fall in love. Do you know what I mean? But they haven't got no experience in it yet, have they? Do you know what I mean? Or any understanding of what the outcome of, can be. Do you know what I mean? Especially if she got pregnant and all that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's. Well, I think when we're young,
but that's what education
is. Hormones are completely.
But that's what education is so important. As you know what I mean, it's that you've got to educate. Like even when my son gets a certain age, like all the time, like whenever people see my son today, they always go, "Oh, your son's so handsome," and yes, he's extremely handsome. And I know that when he gets to a certain age, he's gonna, there's gonna be women or girls his age and women and whatever, slightly old, maybe even slightly older women who might be attracted to him. So I'm just gonna say to him, from young, even with my daughter too, it's that education of saying, listen, when you get to a certain age and you start dating, you start doing these things and whatever, you have to be sensible. You have to use protection. You have to, etc. There's, it's not just, it's about sexual education.
So you've got to guide them, don't you?
You've got to guide them. It's up to you as parents to be real and honest with them and tell them the truth and say, yes, when you're of a certain age, these are things that are natural and normal to do once you're of a certain age with someone that you're in love with and someone that you feel that way towards, especially like we said, if you're both 16, 17, 18 years old and both of you have never had any kind of experience, then you're both new to everything and it's a new thing that you're both experiencing together. And it's kind of, it can be really, it can be lovely, it can be really lovely and romantic and intimate and all that type of stuff. So it's all about education, all about teaching them, listen, it's about, especially when they're going to do something for the first, especially when you're going to do things for the first time, if you see what I mean, it's more like, make it more special, make sure it's with the person that you really love, the person that, the person that you really want to be with, the person that you want to have that experience with, not just because you feel pressured or or you feel obligated because your friends are doing it and whatever, and everyone else might have had experience but you might not have. Forget about all those things. That's just rubbish. That's just peer pressure. Just when you find the right person, and you're together and you both feel that way about each other, then you'll know. You know what I mean? So.
Well, like my story, like I've said, my parents split up. They didn't have their guidance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Like a wild child, like the Jungle Book boy. Honestly.
Yeah.
And I was just doing my own thing most of the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't like school.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just like playing with insects.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. And I didn't have no guidance. And then when I sort of started getting all these hormones in, hundreds of them.
Raging teenage hormones taking over.
Like that's when I was about 15. Do you know what I mean? I stopped being a child then. Do you know what I mean? I stopped playing with all the insects like I used to. I wanted to play with women. Do you know what I mean? And honestly, I was a bit of a wild child. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have anyone say no. Do you know what I mean? Or I just did what I wanted, to be honest. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I've had 15 relationships.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 13-year marriage, another girl that I had a baby with for 3 years, then another girl after I split up with my wife, I went out with 4 years and she had 2 children.
Yeah.
Then another girl, she had 3 children, alright?
Yeah.
And I was with her for 2 years, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to take her children on, so I've had so many experiences, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm on my own now.
Completely different.
Like
completely different dynamic. Yeah.
It's like paradise, and like I say, I can go to sleep when I'm on. I've got no. I don't have to get up and go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people do today. I'm free of all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like heaven in a kind of way, like paradise. I can get up and do music tonight. Do you know what I mean? Or I can stay in bed if I'm tired. You know what I mean? I got no. Like I said, if you're at work, you cannot. Like if you're working, say, stacking shelves, or, I used to be a policeman. I had to get up at 4 every morning, My wife used to keep me awake, but, I can't remember what I was going to say now because I sort of rattle on so much.
Yeah, you're a postman. Your wife used to keep you awake. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but you know, no, I ain't got that anymore. Do you know what I mean? You know, I'm free of it. And
no disturbance. You can have a good,
you know,
good rest.
It is a paradise. You know, if you want to know what heaven is, it's being free of alarm clocks, free of bosses, and independent. You know, and happy, all right, with being alone. Really, you know, like I've said, maybe in a previous episode, that loneliness is. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a person that's never had a relationship with anyone. You know, any girls.
Yeah.
Or I had no children, do you know what I mean? Or I've been lonely all my life. You know, but I'm not lonely because I've had so many experiences, you see. And I'm glad that I'm lonely today because I've had so many relationships, you know, or even when I was younger I was living in the same bedroom with my brother.
Yeah.
And things like this, do you know what I mean? I was always with someone and doing things for other people all the time, you know, like washing up, whatever, helping out.
Yeah.
And always doing more than I should have done, really, you know. I've done housework when I was with my ex-wife and all this, do you know what I mean? And I should have been putting my feet up.
Yeah, letting her do a bit more.
Well, you know, I was at work, do you know what I mean? I should have been doing nothing. Like,
well, you still help out. Of course, you're still going to help out. Like, but I was going to say, if you are the main breadwinner and if she's at home looking after the house and the kids, then she should be doing, you know, contributing more, of course, towards the house because you're the one that's out every day working. But if you're both working and then obviously, you know, whatever else, then you know you both got to be a teamwork, you know.
She's just a different person, do you know what I mean? I met, you know, like you said earlier on, you just don't know who you're going to meet.
No.
You know, you really don't. I mean, the girl that I married, you know, and I was with 13 years, she was born deaf. She was born breech, you know.
Yeah.
She couldn't hear, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and when my parents brought her up, they're really sort of, I don't know, they spoil her.
Okay, yeah.
And they, you know, she slept as much as she wanted, you know what I mean? And all this, and they brought her food up and all this, you know what I mean? You know, and then I took her on all of a sudden, you know, do you know what I mean? You know, I thought, oh, she's lovely, she's
and
great.
she was expecting the princess treatment.
Well, yeah, she's beautiful, do you know what I mean? She really was a beautiful girl. You know, and I did fall in love, and we did fall in love, alright? I mean, previously I met a girl and I had a baby with her, alright? But I don't think I was in love with her.
Yeah.
Right? But I was trying to be in love with her and I wanted to marry her, right? But then she ended up meeting somebody else right, at a nightclub. And it went all haywire. You know, yeah. And then I met, you know, the girl I married who was deaf, you know, and had 2 children with her. Right, and we had such a beautiful, we were in love. You know, we had, I mean, the first 7 years was beautiful, honestly. You know, it was just romantic, beautiful, you know, and, you know, I've got many pictures of it all, do you know what I mean? Even Nathan, my youngest son.
Yeah.
Right, he was at our wedding. When we got married, do you know what I mean? And, you know, he had a suit on and everything, you know. It was lovely, you know, and then it went all haywire when, as soon as my daughter was born, I think she got postnatal depression.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And then she hated things, you know, and then I was out of her life all of a sudden, do you know what I mean? It just went bang, like a firework, you know. And I look back now and I don't even know what happened, you know what I mean? It's like
it's trying to,
funny.
Trying to decipher what.
Well, what it is really, you know, I've got the internet. I was interested in computers.
Of course.
And then she was talking to other people, you know, whilst I was at work.
Yeah.
And then of course there's a young man saying, "Oh, you look lovely."
Giving her the attention that she's looking for because you're at work.
Yeah, you know, the internet really sort of destroyed many relationships in that way, you know.
It did.
It did destroy
especially in the early days when it first came out, and like you said, a lot of people had access to each other that never had access to each other before.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You know, me getting a computer and getting the internet was just like inviting a man into my house, honestly. Or a lot of men.
Especially when you're at work.
Lots of men.
And she's at home on the computer.
Yeah, you know, you think about these mobile phones and all this shit, they all come in, right? I can remember, you know, when I first met Mickey, right, my ex-wife, I shouldn't have said her name, but that was her name, you know, we didn't have no mobiles then.
Yeah.
I mean, it was lovely.
Yeah.
You know, there's no one interfering with us sitting in the front room. We could just watch a film together or whatever, you know. It's lovely.
Yeah.
And then slowly in time, technology grew, You know, and then she got the mobile phone, and every 5 minutes she's on there, you know, like hours sometimes, you know, talking to her mother or father or God knows what, you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, I wasn't really like that, do you know what I mean? I just kept away from all that. You know, I spoke to my mum briefly, you know, and really I'd go and see her, do you know what I mean? You know, do you know what I mean? But, you know, phones kind of like took over in a funny way, and then the internet come in, and then bang, you know, it's like, got the internet, it's like 100 men in your bedroom looking at your woman, wife, you know, basically in your bedroom. You know.
But imagine what it's like today. It's even worse today because with Facebook and Instagram and all these things today, you've got loads of people who are in relationships and stuff, and you've got women who post themselves
Very distracting.
You've got women who post themselves half naked. You know what I mean? On you know, loads of women, and I'm sure men too, you know what I mean, that do these things, you know, post themselves in a certain way towards women. But I was just going to say, obviously, me being a man, you know, sometimes on Instagram you might see women who are half naked and, you know, and stuff like this, and it's like, you know, I think sometimes those things can be back, and it's better to avoid those kind of things. It's better to avoid all forms of kind of like distraction, especially like if you're married and stuff like that. It's better to avoid all those kind of things, you know, because sometimes if you start it, the more you avoid all those things, I find, the more that you will always be even more attracted to your wife, if you see what I mean, because you're not allowing any other outside influence into your mind, if you see what I mean. You're not looking at any other women, you're not watching porn, you're not watching, because, you know, sometimes with porn comes along fantasies and stuff that you might have in your head, you know what I mean, sometimes as well. And I find it's better to avoid those things, so that, especially when you're married and stuff, in a long-term relationships, like, you know, it makes your sex life even better, because, you know, every time you fantasize or you're thinking about something, you're thinking about your wife, if you see what I mean, instead of, there's no other outside influence infiltrating your mind to think about or to visualize or to, you know, reminisce on that you've seen in the past or something like that, some kind of fantasy type stuff. You're not thinking about any fantasy stuff, you're thinking about, you know, your wife, your partner, you know, whatever, like, you know, but yeah.
But yeah, we're talking about sleep and dreams, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely.
You know.
Yeah.
And, you know,
and a different type of sleeps as well, because obviously, you know, you've got REM sleep. You know, different types of sleep. There's different types of different stages of sleep as well. They say as well, different stages of when you first kind of fall asleep, then you go into kind of a deep sleep, and, you know, what they kind of classify as REM, what they classify as like REM sleep, and then you've got.
What I think about it, you know, you're either awake, or you sleep, or you're half asleep. Do you know what I mean? Or a bit awake. Do you know what I mean? You know, sometimes I wake up in the morning and feel still tired. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you're really awake, and then sometimes you're really asleep and dead asleep. Do you know what I mean? And
you ever get that feeling? Sometimes you wake up and you're like, you weren't sure if you were fully asleep. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like, you wake up and you feel like you were kind of like, you know, you were asleep, but it's kind of like you're in a dream at the same time. If that makes sense, if you know what I mean. It's like you're not quite sure. Like,
sometimes I know that I'm dozing off. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then somebody says something, and I kind of wake up like that. Do you know what I mean? I think, you know, and then I doze off again. Do you know what I mean? And go, you know. And, you know, it is interesting really to talk about sleep, really, because not really many people talk about it, do they?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You know,
it's a phenomenon, you know, a phenomenon kind of thing that a lot of people don't, you know, we don't really understand. Well, we do today. I think a lot of people claim or think that they kind of fully understand sleep today, and you know, but I don't think it's something that's really discussed a lot, is it? You know, we don't really kind of, you know, think about the importance of sleep, you know, and the, you know.
It's funny though, the earth, right, yeah, you know, it gets light in the morning, yeah, and it gets dark, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like, naturally, like most all the animals and birds like that, yeah, as soon as it gets dark, right, they go to sleep. They can't really do nothing, you know, apart from the owls and the nightjar or whatever, yeah, which they got eyes that can work at night time.
Yeah.
You know, but most creatures, right, including insects, work during the daytime.
Yeah,
and
true.
It's light, you know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and it's quite interesting, really, you know, like, really, as soon as it gets dark, they all go to sleep. You know, and apparently, you know, you can Google if you want, even trees go to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, at night.
Yeah.
They wake up.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting, the planet, you know, how it evolved like this.
It all works.
You know, it gets light and dark. You know, the sun comes up in the morning. You know, and then it gets you know, at midday it's really hot, whatever,
Yeah.
and it gets cool.
Man, it's funny how our bodies are our circadian rhythm and everything like that is all connected, you know, and our sleep patterns and everything is all connected to the sun and the moon and all this kind of stuff as well. Because obviously, as we know, you know, how it used to work back in the day before we had electric and all these kind of things. You know, like they used to say, early to bed, early to rise. They would go to bed, you know, not long after it got dark. It was almost time for bed. And then as soon as that sun started to rise in the morning, you know what I mean, they'd wake up, hear the chickens, the chickens and cockerels and everything making loads of noise because the sun's rising and they're all waking up and they were up, you know, they're up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, you know what I mean, you know. Bedtime was 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. As soon as it got dark, it's time to eat and try to get warm and, you know, and get some sleep, you know, so.
I mean, it's funny you say about the cock sort of making a noise. They make it probably sort of dead on the hour as well, do you know what I mean? You know, every morning, you know.
Yeah.
And then you get the blackbirds as well. They're the first ones to wake up, do you know what I mean? You know, as soon as it gets light, they're singing,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Not all year round apparently, you know. But anyway, you know, it's just interesting where, you know, like they start making a noise in the morning, like, I'm awake.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And then that's it, really. You know? And then they.
Anyone else awake?
You know, I don't think they do it at night time. Do you know what I mean? They don't cock, you know, or anything. You know, sort of. I think they wake up and they're happy to be awake.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean, or they're. I don't know what it is. Do you know what I mean? Why do they do this?
I think it's just like I think it's something natural to them too, where like it's early, like those early hours of the morning, like it was, you know, wake up time, kind of like wake up call in a way. Like,
I don't think the farmers trained them to be.
No. I don't think so. I don't think even know if that's I don't even know if that's possible.
They might whip them or something.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't.
Yeah.
For the alarm clock.
Yeah.
You know.
But
But I mean, I had a holiday on the farm once, you know, and I can remember the cock waking me
it's
up.
early in the morning, like usually after 5 o'clock. It's usually any time after 5 o'clock. Sometimes, you know what I mean. They start making noise, and you're like, oh goodness, like it's loud. Goodness. Yeah. Especially, I remember growing up in the Caribbean and sleeping. I remember when I used to sometimes sleep by like my younger sister's side of the family. Sometimes I'd be sleeping with my aunties and stuff like this, you know, with their family. And I remember sometimes, like, the same thing early in the morning, like, you'd be asleep, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, you know what I mean? And that would go on for a good 15, 20 minutes. And you'd be like, you might as well just get up, like, you know.
I'm going to research that this weekend, actually.
The old cockerel, you know.
I'm going to research noises, you know, like, you know, what birds make noises. You know, I'm going to do Google this week, you know, do a bit of research. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, like, so I like you were talking about, you know, I'm not right all the time, do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, and I still got to learn in life, do you know what I mean? You know, like you got to think like in another 5 years, you know, you're gonna, you know, if I'm still alive, I'm surely gonna know more. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I might learn a little bit more cooking. Yeah. I might learn a little bit, whatever. You know, and I love learning. Yeah. You know, and you've got to love learning in life, do you know what I mean? And I also love, to be honest, one of my favourite things is dreaming. You know, like, sometimes I'm just sort of laying there, you know, in my bed dreaming of a new film. Yeah. Or just dream. Yeah. You know, dream about, you know, first of all, you've got to dream, you know, you've got to sort of reflect on yourself. Yeah. You know, and is everything done? Yeah. You know, because one thing I make sure is everything around me is sorted out. All my problems. Do you know what I mean? I don't like any problems. Yeah, I'm the same. You know, I want to get on top of every problem. Yeah. Right? And if I get a problem that comes, you know, because I will tomorrow. Yeah. Something might happen. Something might pop up, yeah. I mean, I can't remember what happened today, but I mean, the other day a door fell off, do you know what I mean? When I opened the door.
One of the cabinet doors,
I still got to fix it, you know, and that's another problem I've got to sort out, do you know what I mean? But I don't care too much, you know, I know my problems. Yeah. You know, but I know that I'm on top of all my problems. That's it, yeah. You know. And I can now relax and enjoy life in a funny way, you know, where I can sort of like sit down and do music, which I love doing, you know, I love making videos, you know. That's kind of dreamy as well in a funny way, you know. Like I've said before in the previous episode, I brought some software, video software. And you know, I mean, year before that I didn't know nothing about it, do you know what I mean? I was always making music, you know, putting music together, you know. but now I do videos, and I find it incredible. You know, it's sort of like put me up another 10 steps in life. You know, it's made my life more exciting in a funny way, where I can dream of something and put it on a video.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, you know, and sometimes I mean, when I'm doing a bit, you know, new music, you know, working on a new tune, I'm sort of thinking, what should I call this, and what kind of video should I put to it? You know, and I'm laying there, you know, listening to it, and I come up with ideas. You know, and I, you know, then I put it together. You know, when I, you know, Google whatever and find ideas for that video.
Yeah.
Know?
Compile them all in.
So I love dreaming, you know, and so I think you've got to, you know, like I've got plenty of time to do it.
Yeah.
You know, to relax. So I'm, you know, I'm
free as a
basically
bird.
retired, basically. You know?
Basically, yeah.
You know, and yeah, free as a bird, and I can sort of wake up and just sort of dream all day tomorrow, daydream. You know, I think how, you know, and daydreaming is quite good because you can sort of think about what you're going to do the next day, or next week, or how you're going to, do you know what I mean? You know, and if you've got time to do it, it's great.
Yeah.
You know, what's important in life, you know? You know, we said that, you know, like looking after yourself is number one, isn't it? You know
number one, you've got to look after yourself in order to look after others.
You know,
so.
You know, another, you know, keeping yourself strong, you know, that's
Yeah.
looking after yourself, yeah? You know, and another important thing is making sure you sleep.
Yes.
Perfectly.
Getting enough
You've got to have a
rest.
perfect sleep.
Yeah.
Right? You really have, you know, it's important, you know. No disturbances, nothing.
Yeah.
You know.
You've got to find the ideal environment for you, because we're all different. Like, I'm the type of person that I need, and I'm sleeping, when I go to sleep, I want it to be pitch black, and I want it to be silence.
Yeah, mute.
Mute, no, nothing.
Nothing.
No noise, nothing, just silence and dark. And I
Not
can,
even a pin drop.
and nothing, and I can sleep perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
mean,
it's funny because when I was younger, when I was in my teenage years and stuff, even like in my early 20s, I've just turned 30. Like, but I found the last few years, like, my sleep is a lot. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm a lot more of a sensitive kind of sleeper than I used to be. Before I could sleep, you know, even if there was something like if my wife was watching a film,
yeah,
and I was laying next to her, I could go off to sleep.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Doze off and go. But now, today, if you watch, say she's still awake when I'm, you know, I've got to get her for work in the morning. She's still awake because she's up doing work or watching something or whatever. I'll say to her, "Oh, can you put the headphones on?" If you see what I mean, because otherwise, you know what I mean, that just that sound will keep me awake for a good, you know what I mean?
It annoys you, doesn't it? I mean,
I won't be able to fully, like, you know.
It annoys you, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, for instance, my brother, right? I love him to bits, right? But we're different.
Yeah.
Know? And he's quite busy, you know. He's not like retired like me. He's got to, you know, get up and whatever and work quite hard. You know what I mean? But he, you know, I enjoyed my Christmas this year with my family. I went to see my mum and that. My brother stayed with me here, whatever, you know, and then we went to see my mum, and he stayed here for a few days, whatever, and what he does, he listens to the radio all night, you know, while he's sleeping. And I think, hang on, when you're sleeping, how can you hear what's going on around you? Or when you're sleeping, you know, you sort of, those voices are really going into your ear still, and your brain kind of picking it up.
Yeah. Well, you exactly.
You know, and you might go, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's a little bit distracting. You know? But anyway, I couldn't sleep that night. You know.
There's no way anyone could sleep properly like that, mate. I'm sure it's physically probably impossible. He probably falls asleep, but like you said, having that going all night long, even while he's asleep, like you said, that's going into his brain all night long while he's asleep, and it's
like Christmas Eve, my brother come here.
Yeah.
He stayed here, you know, and because he took home my bed, right, and I had to sleep in the sofa here. And the next day, you know, he was here, whatever, and then we got picked up and went to my mum's, right, and then that night, you know, stayed in the room, whatever, and he had this radio all night, which I couldn't sleep, right, and then we come back home, and he stayed another night, whatever. And it wasn't so bad. I was catching up then, do you know what I mean? But then when he went, I thought, oh great, I got my life back normal. You know, I can just sleep in peace and nothing. And then get up in the morning. You know, I think it's important to have a peaceful life. It really is, you know, so you can think. You know, like, don't spend your life walking around a busy place, I don't think, you know, with a lot of noise